Hello, this is Melody, aka SnippySnacks here. We're gonna go through sort of the process that I go through when creating like new music. What you're seeing right here is like I've already created a bass line in the piano roll, and that's the thing that I first started with. And so I think I'll just let you guys hear that like as a pattern. So here we go. I'm actually going to also turn on the metronome for a minute so that you can hear and you know how it lines up with the beats. So this is with the metronome. And so that's what we have there. You know, these right here are lining up with the quarter notes right here, and then we've just got like a nice little lick right there. And as you can see, like even though it's within the infancy of the song, I've already employed some sound automation, which you're going to hear as you hear the entire track. Just go here on song over here. So let's just hear like the first part of this track, because I've also like had an intro guitar, which is very interesting. It's a little bit off the beat, as you can see, where those guitar notes kind of come in. So like here we go, let's hear the guitar and the bass together. All right, and I'm going to go back and try to double check and see what kind of key I have this in. It looks like I decided to do this in the key of C. Let me go ahead and see. Yeah, there's no accidentals here, meaning there's no sharps or flats. And in case y'all don't remember, I'm going to show you the circle of fifths over here, just a little bit of music theory. So C major is like all the white keys on the keyboard played in succession. It's like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. I added an extra note there, sorry guys. So that is the relative minor of that is A minor over here, which also has no accidentals. And then as you go around the circle, you have G, the relative minor of E, that has F sharp, C sharp, and then we just keep going, and we increase in sharps and flats as we go around this circle. And so sometimes when you're stuck, when making music, you might be like, well, I like how this sounds, but what would it sound like in a different key? And so you can come over here and you can, to help you make music that's within the scale, you can choose just like Wheel of Fortune, just choose something that's within the scale. All right, and then now we're gonna, I have actually went ahead and cloned that bass from up there. So we have something here called transition bass. And so I'm just gonna play from there. And so you can hear what that sounds like, and these drums came in, and I've been learning a lot more about drums, so that's been really exciting. But for the drum pad, like I always use the channel rack because I don't have a lot of experience, right? So here's the channel rack, and so what's happening here is that on every quarter note we have a kick. What I've done with these kicks is I've changed the velocity, because if you just had a kick and it was just playing and all the notes were the same velocity in that kick, it would sound kind of boring, right? So what I have is like, I have the higher velocities on 1 and 3 with these emphasis on the 3. And you'll learn more about that later. And then I just have basically a couple of hi-hats in between, same thing, but I've reversed that, like it's 2 and 4 for the hi-hats. And then I actually learned recently that the kind of drumming that I usually programmed as I was trying to figure it out on my own is linear drumming, which means that with these kinds of drums, no 2 notes are playing at the same time. So we've got kick, hi-hat, kick, kick, hi-hat, kick, you know. So, and you can do all sorts of things with the drums. I recommend strongly that you visit like drumeo.com or go to their YouTube channel because the best way to learn drums is by studying drummers. That's what I learned. And so also what you want to do sometimes if you're programming drums is you don't want to play this same beat over and over and over again. Like that's usually not something that you really want to do. So like I have another drum that comes in occasionally and we can like click on that in the sidebar and we can look at this. So instead of those hi-hats, I've got a snare coming in and like this is just what this would sound. So yeah, it's the same kind of linear kind of pattern, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, kick. And I've like kind of like, that's just a little accent right there. So let's just hear the whole song together one more time, along without the metronome. Okay, so there's that. So now the thing is, like, I want to make this longer. And so I have an established idea. I have a little bit of an intro right here where I've got the bass building. I've got that intro guitar. And I've gone ahead and, like, name these and label these just for my own convenience. I've got a transition bass. And so I'm like, now that I've done that, it's like, I think I actually want to make a new bass line for the rest of the song. And I always do these things in layers. Like, I always think, like, if it's a bass-driven song, I think bass, then guitar, then drums, or whatever order it is. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is between the bass there, I'll insert, oops, like, move that down. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clone the transition bass. And so it says transition bass number 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename that. So we'll call this just bass. Or we'll call it main bass. And we'll go ahead and choose like a different color for it from here. Like, we already used that. Let's do purple. Okay, so we have that right there. Choose that. And so we'll also, I like to keep the names of the instruments there. So we'll just name this, oops, well, let's see. Electric finger bass 3. All right. So what I'm going to do is, this is a clone, so I'm going to drag this over here. And it's cloned, but the cool thing is, if I make changes to the main bass, it will not change the transition bass. So that's really cool. let's see. So let's see what we're doing right here. Let's go in here. So before we just had this, so I think I'm going to just zoom way out, and I'm holding control and just rolling my mouse wheel to do that. So I'm going to select everything, control X, bye-bye. And so it's like, where do I want this to go musically? So the first we had doo-doot, 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 doo-doot. And what if we had doo-doot, 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 like something like that? Like, we're just kind of having fun. So, and please bear with me, I can't really play by ear that well, so to get that doo-doot, 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 you're gonna see me like moving this around like a lot. So here we go. Zoom back in, and to get the pattern right too, I've got to really nail it. So it's do 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 do. So it's like there's got to be like an extension in there, ascension, sorry, somewhere in there. Do do. How that sounds, if that's even close. Almost. Do, 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 do. It's the same pattern, but it's like different notes, so it gives a different sense. So let's like pull that down to like a G. Let's hear it again. And I'm hitting that one there to hear from that point. Do, 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 do. This is gonna take me a second. Do, 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 do. What if we do like? Okay. That's closer to it. I'm so bad at getting it close, y'all. That's why, like, in the process of making these, I often end up with something that's different but close. It's like different but close. Here we go. Da, 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 da. This is driving me crazy, right? So maybe that metronome can help us, right? Okay, here we go. Okay, so that means it has. I sort of want these locked in with those drum beats. That's another thing you have to think of when you think of rhythm. It's like, do I want this to be syncopated? Do I want this to be on the offbeat? What are we doing right here? So here we go. Oh, hey, it's like I kind of like, it's like that is not exactly what we were going for, but it's like, I kind of like that, right? Here we go. Da, 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 da. It's just like a simple ascending thing. But I'm not getting it. I'm clearly not getting it. So what if I do that? If I do that. No, that's even less like it. And I'm leaving this in probably because this is actually my process. Like, I don't have the best sense of rhythm, even with like a lot of the rhythmic pieces that I've done. And so what happens is I find myself just experimenting in the piano roll, trying to get these rhythms right. I got a really good score or rating or whatever in sight singing and ear training, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I don't I didn't really know what it's doing, and this is like a really good example of that. So it's like, let's hear it again. And at that point, like when I mess around with it enough, I'm usually just like, nah, good enough. Like I'm literally like that. And so I'm probably going to want this to repeat a couple of times. And I'm going to mess around with velocities. Don't worry about that. It's not going to sound that like weirdly staccato or whatever. So let's just start this down there. Have it repeat like twice. And maybe let's mess with velocities. So what do we want? So if it's da 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 da, when you hear that, I know at least when I hear that, the emphasis is on that second beat. It's like every other beat. So we can actually bring this down, bring this up a little bit, bring this down, up, down, up, and we can do the same thing over here. And I don't use like really extreme velocity differences. And like, I know some people might not agree with that, but this is what I do in my process, and you can do whatever you want. All right, so let's just hear it as a thing. Let's turn off the metronome and let's hear it. And so like, let's see, and we'll just like go ahead and make a copy of that. I want that to go on for a little bit of time. Now is a good time to decide like if I want that to be like a whole empty space to kind of transition into the new space, or do I want like drums to come in immediately? I can decide things like that. So I'm gonna decide what if I want the one with the snare, the one with the hi-hats. I think I want those hi-hats, and I want it to maybe come in a pattern like every other one, and just see how that sounds. Here we go. Yeah, I really like that. So let's go ahead and put that some more. It's cut, paste, and repeat, people. It literally is. All right. So I got that situation going on. So what do we want the main guitar to be doing? Like, do we even want it to be doing anything right now? Like, because before it was, what were we hearing down here? And like they say not to solo instruments, so we're just having a simple ascending kind of line. And we don't want things to get too busy, right? So this would be maybe a good time for some chord progressions. Like we've had solos here. So, and I forgot to mention that when you clone instruments, whatever you do in the sound automation for one, it affects the sound automation for the other ones as well. So if we clone this guitar, we want to be sure that we know that we don't want to like just start a new one with its own sound automation. We're aware that this is going to be affected by this. And like I don't ever like those number signs in there, so I'm just gonna like rename it, and I'm gonna like give it a different color, like maybe like orange or something. Let's make it stand out a little bit. And so I'm gonna go ahead and insert one here. And so we'll just pull. Okay, let's just do. And I do this. I'm organizing as I go. It's literally a cleanup as I go process. Oops, see daisy. I'm kind of typing with one hand because I don't want to like knock down my microphone stand because it's the CAD Podmaster D, and it came with that really weird kind of tripod, and yeah, I can knock this down and that's not going to be a great sound whatsoever, so we're just typing with one hand here. What did I say was doing? Well, just doing like that. Sometimes I change colors more, but let's go ahead and do this because I think I want that to come in. And so this is where things get a little bit more complicated, right? So this is where the music theory comes in further. So over here, we've got a C, a D, and an F in that first bass line. And like, you might think, okay, that's just a C, a D, and an F, right? Well, you have to think about what chord that makes. So what chord would C, D, and F be found in? Well, it would be a D chord, right? Because you would have a D, F, A, and then C. So it's just the A is missing. So could we maybe, the way I think of it is like, could we maybe use that missing A in the guitar notes below? Could we maybe use that F or that C or something that's already present, because we don't want discordant notes. If we don't want discordant notes, if we can kind of get around it, like discordancy is great. I love discordancy, but unless you're kind of going for that vibe in the song, which I don't feel like we're going for that here, we want to kind of make sure that whatever we have matches in the chords. We're going to come down here. Forgive me, like I have terrible allergies right now. So if you hear me sniffling, that is 100% why. All right, so I just deleted the manual. I'm just right clicking to get rid of them. All right. So here we go. Like we could, like what could we do? Like maybe we should bring in that A. And so we have, should we do the low A? Should we do the high A? Let's just play around. I mean, it sounds a little weird. So what do we do? Like we had ascending notes before. Why don't we do descending, right? And so I'm going to hold the control key and I'm going to zoom in again with my mouse wheel. So, and then we'll drag it out to here. Ooh, we kind of like that, right? We kind of dig that. Let's hear it again. Okay. So we'll mess with velocities a little bit. Let's see. And then remember, from what I was saying, we're about to come up with some space. There's a G and a C over here. So maybe we could like throw in. Let's hear that. And like Adam Neely on YouTube, like he often says like repetition legitimizes. And like at first I was like, what is he talking about? Then I realized like I do that all the time. So remember how we have those repeating notes over there? It's like, why don't we do the same thing over here? And we can always like make adjustments, but I love just copying and pasting and like doing that. Because as we continue to hear a certain note, it sort of makes it sound more legitimate, right? Like, okay, here we go. Let's hear that together. That sounds pretty good, right? But this would get pretty boring if we did this all the time. So it's like, how about a solo over what we're already doing, right? because we haven't really had that before. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this stuff again. And it's like, it is really simple. And like, normally I would have the drums sort of vary up a little bit more than this like alternating pattern. But I actually really like this. I like the hi-hats falling where they're falling and stuff like that. You know, I'm not really oh shoot, no, we don't want that. Okay, I just Control Z that. I hit Control Z to undo that one thing, and you can hit Control Alt Z, obviously, to go back and do more undos. You know, and so we're gonna just stretch this out. But so this time, instead of repeating that pattern, we're going to, for these 4 measures, go ahead and do like a little bit of a solo thing. And it's like, why not, right? Keeping in mind what we've already done. And this is like all experimentation. So it could be... Okay, so remember what I said about... And I know this is going into like 7ths and 9ths and all that territory. I am really unversed in like when you keep extending a chord, what that chord's name is. Don't ask me about that stuff right now. But I just know that if we keep going, we have D, F, A, C, G. No, D comes up again, right? Or whatever. I mean, weird stuff happens. So I think I can get away with this G somewhere in here. In the solo. I think I can do it and it cannot sound discordant, but I'm going to just experiment, right? So, so let's do this. I love that. I love that so much. Let's hear it again. Okay, let's hear that together. Ooh, do 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 do. I think those G's are hitting where they need to be. Do 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 do. But I think I need like another note to like join those G's together. So how about like an F or something? Like go with that. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's hear how it sounds together. And this is with no changes in velocity. We're gonna make it sound a little looser and fun. But here we go. I mean, I like it. I mean, I would want to like probably create a little more space right there. No, not right there. It's right here. So let's move all these notes. Okay. I used to be afraid to like place them on the middle of the lines because I know like I guess the transcriber in me was like freaking out because it's like it is harder to write those notes and for people to read those notes, but it's like for the flow of the music sometimes you've got to like change the rhythm up just slightly or whatever. So here we go. Okay, see, I don't like that rhythm now because I can hear where it's falling with the drum beat, and I'm like, I'm not a fan. So we're gonna move everything back to where it was. It's like, holy crap. Because this is a very sort of whatever rhythm. So what if we just shorten that and do it like that? Here we go. Okay, the same thing right here. I think we want to do that. Oopsie daisy. There we go. It's a little bit of syncopation, right? Let's do that. No, we don't like that. Put it back. All right. So now it's time for the usual like sound animations. When you hear that, what do you want to be louder and softer? What are the dynamics there? Like do like every other one. I think like low notes can sound a little bit low. We can come in a little bit higher, like that usually makes sense. Forgot to like automate that. Okay. It's like what's important here? You just want to like accent those just a little bit more. And sometimes it's like you got that like descending pattern. That last one. Okay, let's hear how it sounds with some velocity, some sound animation. Okay, I actually like that. And let me actually go ahead and save my project because I've been so busy with making this that I forgot to save it. So it's like I always want to know exactly where I am in the project. And it's this very thing though that can make you like a little bit tired when you're working on the project because you start hearing like certain aspects and phrases of the song over and over and over and over again. And you're like, oh, you know, I love this, but at the same time I'm starting to lose objectivity. Does it sound good? Does it not sound good? And that's why I love working on Metapop and getting feedback from my fellow creators because they might be like, okay, that's what's good. And by the way, this song will be posted on Metapop once it's in its completion. All right, and so why don't we go back to this part right here first, and we'll play that, and then we'll like hear it from the beginning, and we'll just figure out where we're gonna go with this. I think repeating that phrase again would actually be really cool. And this time, oh, just the second half of it, that's another thing. You can just literally cut little stretchy and then pencil, right click. And it's like, now I'm like rethinking, do I want to like switch up that drum pattern a little bit? Like there's limits to what we can do, but what if we do like this instead? What we usually do. All right, it's time to hear from the beginning again. and let's see what it sounds like. I really like that, but there is something about like when this main guitar transitions to the main bass. I'm not a huge fan of that, so here's what I can do. Oopsie daisy, I went to channel rack. We really meant to go to the mixer over here. So here's what we can do. We can actually go ahead and create an automation clip for the guitar, the main guitars. Okay, where are you? There we go. Oh no, that's the bass. Distortion guitar. Okay, there we go. Electric guitar clean. So we can right click on this and we can create an automation clip. And I'm glad I'm getting to like show you guys this today. So you know like how we have this going up and down so that like sort of whining guitar can like ebb and flow and it sounds a little bit more natural. We're going to do something like that with the main guitar here. We're just going to hold that control key, zoom in, and like where it ends, okay, like what's a good place to put this? So we're going to click here and create a point, create another point. Just be careful here, and then boom here, and then just kind of pull it down. So what that creates is the effect is that the volume slowly goes down and then the main bass fades in. And actually maybe a good idea is to also create an automation clip for the main bass so that when that comes in, it comes in a little bit more naturally. So we're going to find the electric bass. We're going to create an automation clip. And then what we're going to do is where is it? Okay, oh, dude, we already had one, didn't we? We totally already had one and I made two. So you know what? Control Z, bye-bye. So really all I have to do is, not bad. Oops. I don't know why it's doing. We experienced a few technical difficulties, so while I was trying to figure out those, I exported the first half of the video and I worked on the song more. So now back to the video. Okay, welcome back everybody. After some like checking over the program, I finally figured out what I had selected. So if you click on this, click groups, this locking icon, it'll allow you to lock multiple groups together, and I'd never known what that was for, so we learn something every day. But basically, while we were experiencing technical difficulties, I was allowing this program to export, and I went ahead and added sound automation right here for like a smoother entry, and I went ahead and added a new section over here with the bass and kind kind of another kind of instance of the distortion guitar right there. And so basically we're going to listen to the song one more time, and then I think I'm going to wrap up this lesson, and then we'll come back and maybe do another song next week. So here we go. This is what we've got so far. All right, thank you guys so much for being with me for this program right here. You'll probably see this finished song pretty soon on my Metapop account, so don't forget to check out that. It's www.metapop.com/SnippySnacks. Thank you all for joining me. Bye.